Woohoo. We are here and it's Wednesday. I am forcefully commanding the seasons because I totally have that much power and forcing fall to come to the desert, pretending that it is not ridiculously hot today. Hey Siri, what's the temperature right now?
It's about 86
Oh, it's only
degrees.
86. I'm being a giant wuss. Can't say the actual word I want to say because it's gonna go on YouTube and I'll get banned. All right. Let's put this link into our cauldron chat. Oh, look at my mod team. You guys are freaking awesome. You already put it in there. Artists, I fucking love you. You're the best. All right. Let's ask, or let's look at our questions that were asked. We have 6 new ones. All right. Happy Wednesday. Q&A day. Okay, I don't look at these beforehand. I don't know if you guys knew that. So every time I look at them, they're new to me. I get to think on the spot for these. I like the challenge. All right. You love me more. All right, we'll debate it. It's fine. All right. Somebody who is a mod and a council grad, they are currently enrolled in semester, said, when you assigned our house projects, you said you wondered if House Nova would figure out who your mentor was. Who was it? Okay, so let me back up a little bit because if somebody's watching this and they're not from Haven, they're going to be like, what the hell? So I assigned in my semester program, which is Haven's 13-week foundation program. If you're new to witchcraft or if you need a structure in your practice, you need maybe a refresher on the basics, or you need to learn how to protect yourself, things like that. Um, Haven has a program called Semester, and it is designed so that you get a complete foundation in witchcraft. And no matter what path you take after, whether it's Gardnerian magic or you want to become like formally Wiccan, or if you want to become a kitchen witch, or if you want to move on to potions or herbology or Reiki healing, whatever, you can take the skills that you've learned through that 13-week class at Haven and transfer those to whatever path you want to walk. So part of that program is teaching my students how to discern material that is not only appropriate, but it's accurate, right? So I teach them 2 separate frameworks that are acronym frameworks. I did not come up with these, they are very widely used. One is to evaluate if somebody is operating in a cult like mentality. We have a lot of spiritual groups all over the world, right? We have a lot of occult schools even, and it's important to evaluate those with clear lenses. So I give all of my students a format to do that. And then I also give them a format to discern sources. So if they're going to go find a book or an article or a podcast about XYZ topic, here is how you take care of making sure that the source is relevant, making sure that they are non-biased, making sure that they quote their own sources, things like that. So the homework that this person is asking about when you assigned our house projects, at the beginning of our semester, I assign a project to each of our houses. Just like Hogwarts, we have houses at Haven. And so House Nova is our house that is assigned to the element of spirit. And House Nova's assignment was to find an occult teacher and to evaluate and discern that occult teacher and to see if they were relevant, if they had sources that were listed, if they were a safe space to learn from, if they were currently relevant, if they took care of um, handling their information responsibly, if they weren't culturally appropriating, all important things when you're looking for new sources, right? So that's the project that she is talking about, this student is talking about. And House Nova specifically, because they are assigned to our spirit element, they were assigned an occult teacher. Every one of our houses had a different kind of teacher. Our House Nami, which is sacred to the element of water. They had an intuitive teacher that did a lot of dream work, a lot of intuitive gifting work, right? So each house kind of had their own flavor. House Nova, like I said, had to research an occult teacher. And I told them, everybody is not allowed, you're not allowed to pick me. I can't be a source for any of y'all to evaluate. That's not fair. Pick somebody that you don't know, that you're not familiar with, you don't currently study with. And I was curious of how Snowball would find my mentor. So the question here is when you assign our projects, you wondered if House Nova would figure out who your mentor was, who was it? So I've had a lot of mentors throughout my life. My biggest witchcraft mentors are honestly mostly learned via distance. I would say that my biggest mentor, as far as chronic energy, hands-on magic. Her name is Judy Richter. Shout out to Judy. I love you. She is local here in Arizona. I call her my fairy godmother because she is. This woman is phenomenal. She's a wonderful human. If you're local, she does body work, she does massage, she does Reiki. She's just a phenomenal human. Like, go give her a huge hug. I love her so much. If you are looking for, I'm just going to give you a list of all of my mentors that relate to our conversations here so that you have them all in one go. If you're looking for somebody who does a lot of polarity work, and this is not necessarily in the vein of witchcraft, but it is in the vein of relationships and polarity and masc femme energies, yin yang energies. If gendered terms freak you out, that's fine. Yin yang is the same thing. And I would look at Allison Armstrong, Allison with one L, Armstrong, just like it sounds. She runs a program or a company called PAX Programs, PAX, like Latin for peace. She's phenomenal. She's been around a really long time. I've taken every single one of her in-person intensives except her two most advanced, I think. I didn't want to go all the way um, up the path. But I've taken almost all of her courses. I have all of her books. I have all of her courses that are available distant, and then I traveled in person to see her and study with her and some of her staff. She's phenomenal. Does a lot of work around self-trust, around if you are an AFAB person, you were raised, socialized femme. She does a lot of work around what it means to be an empowered femme, empowered um, human, really, but empowered when you're in relationship with people who are either the same polarity or different polarity. And as a woman, she teaches mostly women. She does do like multi-gender relation or multi-gender workshops and retreats, I think she does still, but she is getting to a point where she's moving a lot of her things online post COVID and she's older. So I'm curious to see how things go for her as far as like what her programs shift toward and how her content shifts. But somebody that I fully, wholeheartedly recommend and have spent tens of thousands of dollars with studying. She's phenomenal. And then my last mentor, probably the most relevant for you guys, meaning my Haven students, she was my initiatory teacher into the fourth way, which if you are part of Haven, you know that that's something that's really big. How we plan our spell work, that's how we have our map, that's how we look at quantum leaps, that's how we go forward and backward in time. Her name was Onami. You just search the internet for Onami, Onami. She is a character. Some of you will love her. Some of you will be absolutely polarized by her, and that's important because that's what good teachers do. She has gentleness tattooed across her forehead. She has an Enneagram tattooed on her hand. So, like, her whiteboard is an Enneagram. Y'all know if I teach, like, I'll hold something that has an Enneagram on it or I'll hold something that has diagrams. Hers is tattooed on her palm. So, like, big initiate into the fourth way. She initiated me into fourth way, and she is an occult business school teacher. So she teaches the business side of occultism, the business side and the mesoteric, esoteric side of growth. She's not necessarily a witch teacher. I think she in past parts of her life has referred to herself as a witch. But really that's because anybody who understands how to bend time is a witch, right? So I think she's a witch, but she doesn't necessarily outright teach witchcraft, just in case that's why you're here, likely why you're here and you're looking for another mentor. She does cover some of the same things that I cover, but I mostly work with her for business and for up-leveling my own shit so that I can get called on my shit so I can call my students on theirs, right? We all are growing. So there's three solid mentors. I also love Joe Dispenza. He's a neuroscientist. He wrote a bunch of books, my favorite of which is called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. He's a phenomenal human. Does a lot of work with the math side of creation, the math and science side of manifestation. He is a medical doctor and he also works in neuroscience. So he does retreats where he will hook people up to brain scans before and after his retreats, and the work that they've done is palpable in charting. It's crazy, you guys. His stuff is so cool. Joe, Joe Dispenza, Dispenza. He's all over the internet. And then finally, my one of my favorite personal development coaches. I did a lot of work with him. I went to see him in Los Angeles. His name is Kyle Cease. I fucking love Kyle. Cease, like cease, stop, ceasefire, right? Cease. Kyle, Kyle. He's phenomenal. He is a professional stand-up comedian turned personal development coach. So I saw him at the Dolby Theater where the Grammys are held and I traveled to LA, got to hang out with him and meet his team and do a whole weekend with him. I've done courses and classes with him, intensives with him. He's phenomenal. But he puts a really funny, real spin on personal development. So if you're coming at witchcraft and you're like, man, I really need like mindset support that's not necessarily a witchcraft vein, he's a great person to look at too. If you don't want to necessarily jump in right to working with him, his book, I Hope I Screw This Up, is phenomenal. He's great. The book is literally called I Hope I Screw This Up. So there's a bunch of mentors for you, a bunch of resources for you. I'll put those probably I'll type them out in the show notes so that you have a list to the person that asked this question. But there's a whole bunch. The most relevant to y'all is probably Allison Armstrong and Onami. Onami, if you want to run a business. But like I said, you'll know if they're for you, each of them. They're very different. Each of them is very, very different. So you'll figure out if they're for you. Moving on. Let's see. This person says, I have a tattoo that says always lonely because my all-time favorite artist has the same tattoo and I thought it was cute that I accidentally chant myself to be forever lonely by doing this. Okay, well, the first question I would ask you, love, this is somebody who's a council grad, somebody who is in semester. Have you felt something other than lonely? So first of all, what's the opposite of lonely for you? Connected, maybe a sense of belonging, community. If you have felt that since you got that tattoo, no, you didn't enchant yourself to always feel lonely, right? Of course not. So if you put the tattoo there with the intention of, I am always going to feel lonely, then yeah, you're inking a sigil into your skin. Is there still a way to undo it? Yeah. But you weren't sitting there with the tattoo artist inking that and holding that intention and programming it in. You didn't worry about your timing, right? Like you weren't doing that intentionally to keep yourself out of feeling alone, right? You were doing it because you wanted to emulate an artist that you really admire, thought that that would be, cute was your literal word. And it is cute. I love it. So keep that and know that it's not a spell unless you put intention behind it, right? What have I always said? Intention matters the most. Your intention for that was to emulate an artist that you thought was cute and get a cute tattoo, and you did. Don't let it be more than that. And you also have lots of 3D proof. Even if you just got the tattoo yesterday, you have lots of 3D proof that you are more connected than you know. I read your comments in Haven this morning. You are definitely not alone, girly. So there's my short answer for your question. Look at your own 3D proof, right? I will always turn you back to trust your own authority. You're a 1-3. What's your experience been since you got this tattoo? Look at that information and then come back to me. Okay. What was the biggest lesson you had to learn the hard way? Oh, what a good question. Oh my gosh. We've all stumbled somewhere along our magical journey. This person says, we all make mistakes from time to time. What was the biggest lesson you got from a spell or a practice that didn't go as intended? How did it shape who you are as a practitioner? Ooh. All right, I got to think about this. This is a deep one. What's the biggest lesson you had to learn the hard way? What was the biggest lesson you got from a spell or a practice that didn't go as intended? Okay. I have an answer and I will tell you that answer and then I will make it relevant for everybody else because my answer is specific to projectors. Okay, I'm going to focus on human design in this question. So, projectors in human design were about 20% of the population. The way that we have to be uh, participating with life as it comes at us is we have to wait for the invitation. Okay. That means that I need to be busy writing, reading, blogging, making content, and the people that are meant for me will come across my content and then they will ask something like, how can I work with you? Or I love what you said about this, or I hate what you said about this, or this makes you sound crazy, or AI wrote this, right? Or that's not the way that I learned it, or oh my God, I use this all the time. Whatever. They're going to respond to content. They're going to get to know me. And then inevitably an invitation comes if they're aligned. So for a projector, for someone wired like me, for about 20% of the population, we are not, if we're living in alignment, we are not engaging unless that invitation is there. If we are living in alignment, we're not engaging unless that invitation is there. Because projectors are guides. We are able to tap into people's auras and feel what is going on, hear guidance, look at things from an efficiency perspective, even like 3D systems, right? That's why, if those of you who know me in person, if you lock eyes with me, it feels like I'm looking at you in your underwear. That's not because I'm trying to look at you in your underwear. That's because that's what my aura does. I literally see into people. Every projector is built this way. So, an issue happens if my aura mechanics are poking into somebody and there's no invitation, and still I give them advice. I guide as a projector. I impart whatever it is that I'm seeing that they need. Doesn't mean that it's wrong, but what it does mean is that there's no place for it to energetically land. And consent wise, that's really fucking icky, right? How many times have you been given advice by someone you did not ask for? You did not ask for advice, and they were like, oh, just so you know, you should do this. Or have you considered this? Or you might want to think about, and you're like, right? This is the biggest Achilles heel for projectors because we have so much guidance, we have so much insight, not even when we're not trying. It's just a function of the way that our aura works. And so we're sampling everybody's aura, right? Yeah, man. Yeah. You're a projector too, girly, right? Like when we sample people's aura, we feel those things, right? And so then what happens is it gets really sketch because if we don't have an invitation, we end up giving advice that's not received. And then guess what happens? Projectors, we feel bitter. If you're a projector and you're watching this and you've given somebody advice without an invitation, without recognition, and you gave them advice, they probably didn't take it, or it felt like a brick wall, or they were like, oh, okay, great, thanks, right? And you sat there and you're like, oh, I just tried to help, right? I was just trying to give them advice. I mean, why would I get the advice if I'm not supposed to say it? Guess how I know? I'm a third line, guys. I had to learn this the hard way. People do not value advice they don't ask for. And all you do as a projector when you speak without an invitation is you are wasting your energy. You are throwing out energy to a circuit that has no space for it to land. All you're doing is draining yourself. And projectors don't have a lot of energy to drain in the first place, right? We're non-motorized. We don't have a defined sacral. We don't have the access to the consistent life force energy that our 60% of the world our generators and mani-gens have. We don't have that. So we don't have energy. And then we spend time giving it out to people who don't value it and don't deserve it and have not asked for it and don't have space for it. Just because why? Because you want an ego stroke, maybe? You want to look really good. It's habit. You can't not say it. There's lots of lessons here for projectors. Okay. So this is the same thing to make this less applicable to just projectors. This is the same thing as walking through your life, not listening to your authority, hearing your gut and going, I'm not going to listen to it. How many times, sacrals, have you been like, shit, my gut said not to do that. I know I shouldn't have done this, and now I'm committed, and now I'm in it for 6 months. What did I do? Right? Emotional people, emotional authorities. You say yes without waiting it out. And then the day comes and you're like, why did I commit to this? I don't have the energy for this. Or I shouldn't have said no. Now I regret not going. Right? If you are a manifester, when's the last time you forgot to inform somebody? You didn't tell somebody what you were doing because your brain says what I do doesn't affect anybody else. I'm just me. I'm going to steamroll, freight train. I got the energy. Let's fucking go. I'm doing it. Initiate, done. Start the thing. And you think, oh, I'm just gonna run headlong into doing it. And then you realize, oh my God, all these people are mad at me. Because I did the thing and it affected them and it affected them and it affected them. And I didn't think about that. And now you have a bunch of people pissed off at you and you're angry. They took your peace because you didn't inform anybody. That sucks. Right? So not listening to the way that you're wired costs you big time. For me, giving people advice when there was no energetic space for it to land ended up becoming a story for me that I wasn't qualified to give advice, which was not true. But what the mishap was I didn't have space for it to land. I wasn't honoring my mechanics. Just because I had the insight doesn't mean it was time to give it. People don't value advice they don't pay for, whether that's paying with recognition, paying with attention, with energy, with presence. Sometimes it's a client fee, sometimes it's you took semester, right? But if you're not committed in some space energetically to receive me giving you something, not going to happen. So for me, learning how to navigate life and only give attention and energy to the places where there's an invitation was the biggest, like Achilles heel, but also hugest lesson. And I won't tell you that I'm perfect because I'm definitely not, definitely still human, right? But I do it right more often than not. Let's say 70% and be generous. It's probably not even that high. But the more often that I do it and the more often that I listen to myself and I take a second and I ground and I say, okay, is there an invitation here? Is there recognition here? Let's take at least 48 hours and feel this out. After those things are done, the decisions that I make 100% of the time are solid. 100% of the time. The issue is not, do I follow it or not? Like, is the system correct or not? The issue is, do I forget to pay attention to it? Right? When I pay attention, it works, but it's the attention that is the difference, right? So, knowing how you're wired and then listening to it and leaning into it can be really hard if you have to learn it the hard way. And it also can be really life changing if you listen to it and lean into it. Okay. Good question. Good question. Good question. Uh, this next question comes from one of our mods who is a council grad and a semester student. She says, Shapeshifters or what? My husband was born in the southern part of Mexico. I hear him and his family speaking about witches there that change into things like crows, owls, coyotes, wolves. Apparently, they can look just like your pets. Are these shapeshifters or what? He says they practice black magic. Okay. So, a couple things here. First of all, let's take the term for, well, actually, before that, zoom out. Number one, I am going to come at this from my cultural lenses, right? I'm not Mexican, so I'm not going to speak to culture, but what I will speak to is the paranormal, the things that I know and feel like I have the lineage and the skill set to be able to talk about. I will talk about those. And then for this person, I recommend asking in our cauldron chat, seeing if there's other people that are also Mexican culture and seeing if they can tie dots together for you, because I'm not going to pretend that I have lived in that culture or that I understand the history of that culture or speak from a place of authority around it, because that would feel disingenuous. But I can tell you about the shapeshifting piece. So there are entities, absolutely, that will shapeshift, that can take the space of lots of things. And that's not only a baneful entity or a malefic entity, right? We have angels can show up as people, right? And angels are generally thought of and regarded as positive, right? They're actually neutral, but we can think of them as non-baneful for sure. They can shapeshift, right? Your guides. Sometimes guides will shapeshift. They will show up a certain way in your childhood and then they will change and shapeshift and show up a different way maybe in your later adulthood, or as your abilities grow, you will see more of them, right? Maybe because you're looking through a peephole right now trying to develop your insight, not you, but someone, right? They're starting to develop, their window is very small. And as they develop and they can see more, their window will open and you get to see more into where your guides are, what they look like, maybe different forms of them. Um, the thing, just like your vibes expand, your ability to sense things like that will expand as well. Different ways that things can shapeshift and what's actually underneath them. One of the things we did talk about in council, you're a council grad, is okay, this thing showed up and it looks like a kid. It looks like a girl. It looks like an old, cute abuelita, right? It looks like whatever. Just because it looks like them does not mean that that's what it is, right? And I don't want to freak out my semester students. Y'all are way protected. But when you work with baneful magic, or what I know your husband, and what your husband is saying, black magic, you and I both know that that's not black magic, but what the usual pop culture term for black magic, right? Those evil entities, those malefic entities can shapeshift and cause a ruckus. Yeah, for sure. Is it possible? Yes. Different cultures have different ways of describing beings. That doesn't mean that they're all the same. It's not like source, where Christians call it one thing and Muslims call it one thing and Buddhists call it one thing and Taoists call it, right? It's not like that. There are different kinds of beings, some of which are specific to specific cultures, which is why I said to check in with other people at Haven. But there are beings that are cross-cultural, right, that do shapeshift, like guides, like angels. Animal spirits can sometimes shapeshift. It depends on how long they've been in the ether, how many rounds they've had as an animal, what kind of animal they are. Just kind of depends on specific animals. Um, taking the taking the last piece of this, the black magic piece, right? Because I know this is going on YouTube, so we're going to talk about this for a hot second because I think it's important. Black magic, as it's defined in Hollywood, as it's defined in pop culture, is negative, baneful magic, left path magic, right? So when we see somebody who is in a black hat and cackling and has a wand and is, stirring their cauldron and waha, I'm gonna eat the small children. Yeah, that sounds baneful, right? But also things like demons, jinn, um, the Fae can be baneful, right? Left path magic, when we are, as witches, we call that, at least at Haven, we call that left path magic. We call that malefic magic. Okay? It's not negative magic. It can be restorative, it can be justice magic, it can be revenge magic for freaking sure, right? But just because it is baneful doesn't make it black magic. We're actually about to get into this in semester. Black magic is a term that actually is an alchemical term. Black doesn't mean race. It comes from the word negredo, which is an alchemical term for the magic that we encounter when we encounter the art of fear. Okay? If you're looking at your diagrams at your 369 students, the line between your 6 and your 3, your 0.6 and your 0.3, That's the line of Negredo magic. That's the line of fear. That's the line of black magic. And so that's when we are walking that line out, we have to encounter fear as part of our spell work, as part of our process transforming. You can't transform anything until you've looked at the black magic piece, the fear piece. But because Negredo magic is the art of fear, it's easy to be scared by it, right? It's easy to go, I don't want to look at the scary parts. Let's just label them negative. Let's just label them black magic and, put them in a box and we don't ever have to touch it. Useful, but you're throwing away a third of the magical process if you throw out black magic. If you throw out Negredo magic, you're throwing out a third of your process. So the reason I know that you would have said baneful magic because you're a council grad, but they said black magic, and it's an important conversation to have because a lot of people, a lot of witches come to Haven and they're like, oh, I can't do black magic. And I'm like, we're gonna, but I'm not in your baneful program. I know, but we're gonna do black magic because it's not what you think. Black magic just means getting in the ring with your fear and seeing what fears are stopping you from sinking your teeth into the intention that you have to pulling it into fruition, right? We got to look at your fear before we can create something else. So I love that you used their words. That was really important. I know you would have said baneful. For most people, they hear black magic and they go a certain space. I know you don't because you're a council grad. But for everybody else that's here, yes, they are. There are entities, baneful and otherwise, that can shapeshift into lots of animals. I would recommend, okay, so I will say this in a coded way, okay? There are there are entities that do this in certain indigenous cultures. And the names of those entities, the type of entity, like if I said the word ghost, right? Or spirit or guide, the name of that entity, if said, can call them to you. So I'm not going to say it and I won't type it, but I will put it in chat in Discord and I will message it to you directly, what the name is. The reason why we don't say it is because they're right. Okay. The indigenous cultures that have made this well known, it's a gift to us that they shared this. But working in paranormal for a long time, if you say the names of some of the entities, especially those that are indigenous that shapeshift, you can call them to you just by saying the name of the kind of entity. So I'm telling you that for one reason and one reason only. As you research this, type it out. Don't talk about it, type it out. Because the last thing I would want is for you to say, especially that one, out loud, or say maybe a lesser crazy one, but still say it was one of them out loud and call them to you and then have a whole hot mess to deal with. Okay. So just be careful, type it out when you're researching because I wouldn't want you to say something that you don't want to say. And if they show up, we have to go to my network and ask our indigenous friends to help because that's not something I can help you remove. So just be really careful, okay? You would be helping me. Yeah, we would go find ourselves someone indigenous from that land and we would ask them for help. Sometimes you need people who are of that culture to be able to process those specific entities. That's how it works. That's why we network, right? We all need each other. All paths. All right. Shapeshifters or what? That's such a good question. Mediumship. All right, this person is a council card and is in semester. They are also a projector. What techniques or activities would you recommend to someone who is desiring to hone in their mediumship skills? Ooh, I love this. Okay. Are you in? You're in House Nova. Okay, I thought so. This makes sense. Like, this is such a House Nova question. So, what techniques or activities would I recommend to someone desiring to hone their mediumship skills? Number one, I would say listen to your default vibe, right? At Haven, we talk about the three vibes, the three ways that your intuition can show up, the main ways, right? The main three, which are your vision vibe, your voice vibe, and your vessel vibe. So things that you see, vision, whether that's with your physical eyes or in your third eye, voice, which are things that you hear, also like outside of you, but your inner voice, your inner little voice, your inside voice. And then vessel, which are things that you feel with your body. So feeling weird vibes, feeling cold spots, hot spots, staticky, your hands are buzzy, all of it counts, right? And so when I moved from just developing intuition to developing mediumship, the thing that made that bridge the bridge that made that really, really easy was already having a very, very clear sense of my vibes. So I would say if you have one vibe that's default, work on the other two. Pick the next one that's the most exciting for you. I know you and you're a 6-2. You're going to trial and error this out. So you try all of them, see what feels the best, right? Um, try that you're an emotional authority. Try them for a couple weeks. For if you are a vision person, try paying attention to your vessel vibe for 2 weeks and then move to voice for 2 weeks, right? Try the other two for a good period of time. That would be my first recommendation so that all of your vibes are strong. They don't have to be equal, but you want them all strong. Because once you connect to the other side, they're just like humans here. Everybody here doesn't communicate the same way, right? Not everybody has the same body language. Not everybody has the same accent. Not everybody uses the same words, right? And not everybody has the same personality. So you might connect to somebody extroverted and they are talking your fucking ear off in spirit and you haven't worked on your voice vibes, and you're like, I can see them. I can see them, and her mouth is moving, but I can't hear anything, right? That's frustrating for both of you. It's not fun for either of you. And then she's going to be frustrated as hell. I'm talking to her. Why can't she hear me? You're going to be like, I can see her or I can feel her, but I can't see her. I can't hear anything, right? I can hear her, but I don't feel anything. Right? Like you might have one or two, but not the other. So work on your vibes is my first recommendation. And we are for you, since you're in semester, Friday's class, we're going to do more intuitive work like we did a few weeks ago with the values meditation. We're going to do more of those kind of things, help you connect deeper. And then next week, our entire unit is intuitive development. So we're right on the precipice of these kind of things. But working on your vibes is my number one. My number two skill is working on your divination. You let that be a skill that is constantly getting strengthened, right? Whether that's tarot, whether that's pendulum, whether that is reading bones, reading palms, reading tea leaves, reading clouds, whatever your form of divination is, it's good to have that as a second opinion for your intuition because you're going to get your vibes really strong and then you're going to bring in the spirit realm, meaning the layer of people who have passed. Mediumship is not talking to guides, you're talking to humans and animals that have passed, right? So as you hear and feel and see things from the mediumship realm, you're going to want, likely, especially as you begin, a second opinion. And it's going to be hard, even if, like, you asked me, hey, I saw this person or I heard this thing. I can go remote in and get a sense, but even then, it's almost like I'm watching a tape. I'm not actively there with you, right? I'm trying to watch pieces of film to try to figure things out and then using my guides to help piece it together. So what's the best is if you're in a mediumship scenario, you hear your vibes, and then you go to divination. You were there, you have all the details, you saw, you heard, you felt all the things. Go to your tarot deck. Ask for confirmation, ask for next steps, ask for whatever. If it's not a tarot deck, pendulum, right? You can use, I have like a little, you probably have seen these, but I have a pendulum board. So you can swing your pendulum over. So like if it's going to swing and it goes here, that line is a yes line, right? If it's going to swing here, that line is a no line. If I was asking it about timing, right? And it's pointing from the middle to February, then I know, right? This is on Amazon. It was like $3. Easy peasy. It's a good way if you don't love tarot. It's a good way to get really clear answers and it's objective, right? Your arm is placed, you hold your pendulum, let it swing. It's a good way to double check your intuition. You're not double checking spirit, you're double checking that your senses were right and aligned. So check your vibes, lean into divination practices, I would say. And then honestly, knowing who asked this, I don't think you're gonna, I think your biggest hiccup is probably gonna be realizing how open you are and how much you make yourself available to once you peek into that realm. Because just like I told you, when your light lights up, right? When you get new skills as you're ascending, as you're learning, as you're going from that exoteric to mesoteric, mesoteric to esoteric, you're blooming, you're expanding, your light is growing, right? You're becoming a lighthouse. Dead people especially freaking love that. It's like being dropped in a country and no one speaks the same language, and then all of a sudden you see somebody from your home country and you're like, oh my god, everyone else here speaks Greek, you speak French. I have so much I gotta tell you. Can you please go find my daughter, tell her this? Please go find my son, tell him this. Please go find my sister, tell her this. I know I died like this. They just fire hose you, right? And so if you're not prepared for that and you're not used to setting boundaries, you're not regulated, you're not grounded, it can be a lot of that flood can be a lot at once. Every single medium has to learn how to regulate that flow of information. It's gonna take a little bit of time. It's gonna take fine tuning. It's part of the journey. It's part of the fun. You get to figure it out. How you wanna picture that, how you wanna set that, how you wanna communicate that to guides, things like that. We can work through things like that. I do want a mediumship course coming next year, so that'll be fun. But for right now, vibes number one, divination practice number two. And then number three, and this is honestly something that you have ongoing because I know you and you've been a student at Haven for forever. Keep up with your nervous system practices. Keep yourself grounded. Practice when you don't need it, so that when you need it, it's there, right? That's why we lift weights, right? We don't lift weights because we need to be strong that day. We lift weights because there's heavy stuff coming and we need to have the muscles ready to lift it when it shows up. So make sure that you're practicing grounding, make sure that you're practicing a regulated nervous system because those are going to open. You're going to see those people. They're going to see your light and they're going to be like, oh my God, let's go talk to her. And you're going to have to know how to close down, how to cleanse, how to ground, how to get back to baseline. It's a lot. It's a lot. Okay. So keep that in mind. Slow and steady wins the race, and also lean into your 369 for your semester intention because it's more than slightly aligned here. Good question, girly. Okay, next one. Why do actions feel risky even if they are positive? Help me explain this. I was reviewing point 5 notes from WCPR and I left this question unanswered. Okay, first of all, I know what week 5 is in WCPR, but I'm gonna go look at the notes so I don't answer you from memory because that's never good. Let's see. Point 5 was after servitors, nervous system practices. Let's see. Foundation, law of supervision. I was reviewing point. Oh, point. Got it. Got it. I'm dead. I'm done. Point 5. Okay. Hello. Point 5. I got you. It just took me a second. Okay, you were doing point 5 notes from WCPR and I left this question unanswered. Why do actions feel risky even if they are positive? Okay, got you. So I would examine the risk. If you're at point 5 is action, right? So for those of you who have not learned all of the laws, you haven't learned the law of the law of shocks, the law of octaves, you've only learned the law of creation. This is coming. Here's a little taster, okay? So point 5 we know is action, right? And so to this person who asked this question, who is a council grad and in semester, when you are at point 5, you're planning, your mise en place, right? You are getting your to-do list ready, right? When I'm planning a class, if I'm planning out a class the same way, and I'm at point 5 isn't what I'm teaching you. That's at point 7. Point 5 is I have to make the YouTube cover graphic. I have to make the resources. I have to send the replay email. I have to actually teach the class, and then I have to make notes about how the class went. That's my to do, right? The actually what I'm teaching, the content doesn't show up till point 7 because point 5 is just the mise en place. You're organizing, right? It's you're your spell ingredient list. Okay. So why do actions feel risky even if they're positive? I would tell you, as somebody who's a sacral, if you get to point 5 is the point of no turning back. You cannot pass point 5 and go back. So if you are at point 5 and you're like, something doesn't feel right about this. Something that there's like something, one of these actions does not feel aligned. That could be your sacral going, hey, we need to check in. Check in with me. Something's not right, right? So what you can do is you can run those steps through your sacral. That's a yes or no question. So in my example, because I don't know what the point 5 is that you're working, but in my example, if I was a sacral, do I need to make a YouTube graphic? Yes. Do I need to teach the class? Yes. Do I need to make this resource? No. Okay, I won't make that one. They might not actually need it. Do I need to make this resource? Yes. Okay. Do I, like, you're going to go through each thing, each step in your point 5, each to-do item, and check that against your sacral. That's what I would do if you're having a moment of when I hear risk, I either think that there is a situation where we have doubt that we haven't cleared up from point 3, or we've got you're anticipating your point 6 shock and you're like, "Oh my God, now I actually have to do it." Right? Fuck. White knuckle. Now I actually have to do it. I know my plan. No, I actually have to do it, right? And you're a generator. So if the risk is coming from like I don't know if I want to actually do it, and you're like about to dick out, that's super cute. We love that. That's a moment where you add super effort, right? It's a moment where you can anticipate a shock is coming. We know that at point 6, we add sacrifice. So if this is risky because you're like, I can't be the new person, right? I can't teach the class. I can't deliver this info. I'm supposed to do all these things. I can't do that. If I was in that space, it feels too risky. Well, if I'm looking at it that I am freaked out about teaching it, that's me being resistant to moving to point 6, right? In which case, I need to add a sacrifice. This class has to somehow be bigger than me. What about this is bigger than me? Well, I'm teaching you color magic so that you can take this forward and go change your life. You can feel empowered in your spell work. You can know very quickly and easily mentally what to add if you're in a crystal store. I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. You got it. It's bigger than me. Okay, now I know it's bigger than me. I can move to point 6. I'm going to teach the class. Doesn't mean I don't have feelings still, but it means my perspective has changed, right? If you are not, now same situation, but if it was the other way, I am about to teach this class and I'm freaking out. I'm looking at this and man, I really wanted to go over numbers too, but it just doesn't feel right. Like something just does not feel right. So I'd run it by my sacral. Do I need to talk about numbers? No. Okay, so I will take numbers out. I don't need to talk about numbers. I would step back, look at the rest of my plan, because how is that plan changed now that I have listened to myself and taken that out at my point 5? So, and as we're looking at point 5, what is connected to point 5? Right? 1, 4, 2, 8, 5, 7. So you're looking at the two places that are connected to point 5. See if either of those need to change, those 2 points, based on you taking numbers out or based on you taking out the risky action in your point 5. If you're getting ready to do something and it feels risky, are you feeling like it's a risk because you don't want to be something new? You don't want to change the pattern? You don't want to actually like grow? Or are you feeling like it's risky because it's your intuition talking to you and there's maybe something that you missed that you need to look at? You get to decide which is true, and based on which of those is true, you know which point to look at that's attached to point 5. Okay, maybe it needs to look different at point 7. Maybe the end result of what you know, like what it looks like when it's done, how you know it's done, is different based on what you did at point 5. So said another way for the class yesterday, it would mean that in point 7, if I took my numbers out, numbers aren't something I'm going to have to include in my class plan to teach you now. I can take that block out, right? That's how point 7 would change. And point 8, the other point attached to point 5, I can't count on you being accountable for knowing numbers now if I haven't taught it. So I have to take that out. See what else changes in your plan when you change your 0.5 if you are feeling that it's risk because something intuitively is off. Do not go past 0.5 in Chronos time without checking in with it first. If it's you freaking out and wanting to dick out about being something new, becoming something new, doing something new, actually manifesting the thing, call your own bluff. Okay, first of all. Second of all, all you need to do is add a conscious shock. Add your conscious shock at 0.6, something that has to do with sacrifice. Make it bigger than you, because if it's not, it won't manifest. And lean in and super effort. Do it anyway. See your Penelope and say, thank you for making me choose to take a second and look at my doubt. I know what I'm doing. I planned this well. Thank you so much for doing it. It's bigger than me. We're doing it. And move forward, right? Super effort is risky. It feels like it's scary because it's new. That's all. Good question. Best regulation techniques for regaining your center. Perfect timing. Dealing with difficult people these days has me worn down, doubting myself, and having a hard time not self-destructing. What are your favorite grounding techniques to bring you back to center? I love this. Okay, so this person, for context, is a council grad and they are currently enrolled in semester. Best regulation techniques for regaining your center. So, a couple of different options. Difficult people happen in lots of different seasons of life, lots of different environments. You know the gather ground seal for somebody who is like in your immediate vicinity. If you don't know that and you're watching this, one of my favorite techniques that I do teach in semester, but I also have taught on social media for a long time, is the gather ground seal. You gather the energy around the situation, person, environment, yourself that you don't like, car that is speeding. Gather it, ground it. You're going to imagine a cord from that bubble that you circle that you just made, pull it down into the center of the earth so that you ground it, and then snap to seal it. So you're basically saying, I don't want that energy around me, or thank you for regulating, right? You can do it really quickly. Nobody knows what you're doing. Super easy. Great incognito way to like just create some momentary peace while you ground, kind of stop the bleeding, so to speak. Where on the other side of this, though, looking at this question, difficult people has me worn down, doubting myself, and having a hard time not self-destructing. So what I would say is, number one, if you're worn down, that's your sacral telling you that you don't have energy. This person is a 5-1 sacral generator. So they do have that consistent life force energy. And when I hear somebody is a sacral and they are exhausted, they are worn down, how much are you resting? How well are you sleeping? How much rest is your body getting? If a sacral does not have enough rest, they go nuts. Okay. Same way, if you don't burn off your energy, you will sit there at the end of the day and you will literally, like, I call it the zoomies, just like my dog has the zoomies. My husband, who is a sacral, gets the zoomies. His feet will shake, his leg will shake, and I'll literally be like, please go drain your sacral before you come to bed. Because this girl can't, I sample everybody's shit. It's going to keep me awake. Please go drain your energy before you come to bed and try to lay next to me. Okay. So if you are drained, how much are you resting? You are probably trying to superwoman it. You're probably trying to be all the things to all the people, which makes sense. That's how we're socialized, especially as femmes. But it's not working for your body. And so we're at that at what cost situation, right? So if you are worn down, the answer for that is rest. And then immediately, I want you to look at what comes up, because we've done this a long time. I've known this person for the better part of 20 years, 25 years. Shit, we're old. Okay, so I've known you for a really long time, right? When you are in that space of, okay, fine, Teal, I need to rest, but you can chart this, right? So your body is your 0.9, your rest is your 0.3, and you full tanked is at 0.6. What keeps you from resting? And put rest at 0.3, because if it's at 0.6, you're not going to rest until 0.6. You need rest at the beginning at 0.3 before you can be your best self. You have to passive before you can active, right? So you can map this. I will put it on a map for you if you want. You let me know. Put it in the chat. I will map it for you. When you are looking at that immediate knee jerk that comes up when I tell you need to rest, your body needs to be less active. Yes, but, right? Write that down. That's important information. So that's for the worn down empty tank, specifically as a sacral. Doubting yourself and having a hard time not self-destructing. Okay, doubting yourself. Do you know where you might find information about self-doubt? Here, let me see. I probably have it right here. Where are you? Oh yeah, right here. Let's see. Oh my God. This is my favorite book, one of my favorite books. And if you are not at Haven, you don't know that this is one of 2 required reading items for every single class at Haven. So if I were in my own bubble and I was like, damn, I'm really fucking doubting myself, I would look through here because this has happened, right? I would look here and I would scroll through the back, I would flip through the back of this book and I would find out where doubt shows up. Where does doubt show up? Da, 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 da. Let's see. Anger, pride. Let's see. Doubt, 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 doubt. So I would look back here and I would also look at the places where this shows up in your life. While you're thinking about this, where are the places that this shows up in your life? Do you doubt across the board or do you doubt only in specific areas? Because there's a difference between noticing that you're dysregulated. Okay, they said specific. Okay. There's a difference between noticing that you're dysregulated when you are just living from a baseline perspective, right? Then that's trauma work. That's when we talk about going to therapy, we talk about therapeutic support. That's different than finding yourself triggered in specific moments, right? Or maybe by specific people. Still important therapy work, but less overall systemic. So I'm not going to take more time to look through this, but what I would do is I would look through the back, right? Look in the back and find the wound that most closely matches what you're walking for doubting yourself. Doubt is on the other side of trust, right? And when we have, it's the wound of distrust, but when we have distrust, that pattern and that wounding ends up showing up as fight, flight, freeze, fawn. If you are doubting, you're likely having an encounter with the wound of distrust. Okay, I had therapy today. Yeah, awesome. So when you're in that space, the wound of distrust, oftentimes that shows up as fight, flight, freeze, fawn in our body. And if you are coming at this from a space where your sacral is already drained and you're like, I cannot handle anymore. I am done. I am done. I am done. Mama has no more energy. I'm tapped out. You're so much more quickly going to help your body go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn and live in that space of the wound of distress, right? Which I was looking at this to tell you there are affirmations for each of the wounds, right? There are affirmations in the back. There are like literally listed methods of healing for each. But this is the page that I would look at. Oh, let's see if I can get it to focus. Focus. Wound of distrust, okay? So I would look at the things like, what if everything works out, right? You're doubting yourself in that moment of doubt. Counter that with what if everything works out? Just because it didn't work out one time doesn't mean it's not going to work out every time, right? What if you can trust them? Anything is possible. You're going to know what to do in the moment, right? Like these are affirmations literally straight from this book, okay? I'm not making these up. So I would start there for the doubt for yourself. You can also map that if you want. And then having a hard time not self-destructing. So what is that? The page for distrust is 158 in the paper book. I don't know if it's different in Audible, but in the paper book it's 158. It is about halfway through the wounded themes of consciousness. It's after overwhelm. Yeah, okay, you have paper. Good. So yeah, it's 158. You said you're having a hard time not self-destructing. So I just said overwhelm. That's on page 146. I would look at that one too. Overwhelm sounds like what's the point? Why bother? So that might be the self-destruction that comes from the like self-destruct. I'll just curl into myself. What's the point? Does it even matter? Right? That can okay, yes, okay. That can be how it sounds. It can also be the wound of rejection. That sounds like no one loves me, why try? Right? And it comes from a different wound. So this one, why bother? What's the point? That's the wound of overwhelm. So you'll find that if you look at overwhelm first, it may help you process the wound of distrust because overwhelm is underneath that. Yeah, she says damn sacral bullshit. Yeah. So the wound of overwhelm, how often do you ask for help? Okay? You are tired, your body is hurting. How often do you ask for help? Overwhelm only festers if we don't ask for help, if we haven't learned that it's safe to ask for help, right? So, overwhelm, the medicine for overwhelm is asking for help, allowing yourself to feel and asking for help and receiving that support. That's the magic of the wound of overwhelm. Because then what happens, think about it. Once you start to build that, it's hard to flex those muscles first, but once you start to build that and you really start to allow yourself to receive that support, I feel this, I need help, I ask, I receive. Can you imagine what that does to your body in the sense of the wound of distrust? You've now proven to yourself that when I have a need and I advocate for it and I allow it to be met and I receive that meeting of that need, I feel better. And you'll have a track record of that in your body. And then your body goes, "Oh my God, we don't have to be in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn anymore. Holy shit, we can actually relax. Oh my God, we can sit down. We have help. We're not superwomaning. We don't have to do everything." Okay. There's a reason I assign this. It's not a witchcraft book. There's a reason why I assign this. It's a consciousness book and it builds on itself. So I would look at Wound of Overwhelm, page 146, and I would look at the Wound of Distrust, which is the next one after that. Okay. And we are going to look at inner work stuff on Friday. We're going to do intuitive development. We're also going to look at inner work things on Friday. I have mapped every semester student intention to a specific wound because I'm going to. So we will look at specific woundings. I'm going to start with the ones that are the most prevalent for our students and start with that group of them and that group of woundings and workshop those techniques for those. Okay. So my challenge to you, because I know you and I've known you for 20 years, ask for help today. If you really want to make it spicy, ask for help. Regardless of what they say, this is not an ask for help and they met it. This is not ask for help and they met it and you received it and it was awesome and now we journal and it's great. Baby steps. One step at a time, which is also important for overwhelm. Break things into small steps. Ask for help twice today. Or once today. Once is still a win. Ask for help. No matter what they say, you asked. And then come tell me in the chat at Haven so we can all celebrate the fuck out of you, okay? I love you long time. All right, you guys, I'm kicking it because it's been 11. It's after 11. It's been 65 minutes of hanging out. I so love Q&A. Thank you for being here with me. Wild energy today. We're here for it. Love these questions. And I will see you guys next week. I'll send an email out with the replay. Thank you for being here. Love you, love you.